So one of the challenges of, the high holidays starting so late. We joke. When I worked in Roslyn on the North Shore of Long Island as an intern, I was actually at the greatest, one of the years that Rosh Hashanah was Labor Day weekend. It was like on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. And a woman came up to me in the grocery store and said, "Steve, by the way, that is my name. I was not born with the name Rabbi." Steve, and when you're an intern, you get called by your first name, which is my preference. Why did you guys schedule Rosh Hashanah so early this year? We have to come back from Montauk early. Why would you schedule it on Rosh Hashanah? So the first of Tishrei happens to be the same every year. Rabbi Keller is right. But one of the pitfalls of it starting in October is in the weeks preceding, we have to find material to speak about that isn't too good, so as to save the good stuff for Yontif. But as you know, Rabbi Keller and I are pretty consistent. We keep to the Torah, and whether it's Yontif or Shabbatot. And the Torah is so good. This week is really one of my favorite parshiot, just like the other 53. It's got so many juicy little nuggets of godly Moses-like Torah that we don't have to worry about using anything this evening that can't be used later on again during High Holy Days when the rest of the congregation shows up. You have to get one dig in. And that makes you all probably feel pretty good right now. The Torah portion ends with one of the most perplexing, Moses-like, cryptic statements. So where are we? We are, our ancestors are in Moab, overlooking Israel, the Promised Land, somewhere across the Jordan River, facing Jericho-ish. And Moses, it says in chapter 29, this is the very end of this parsha, Moses summoned all of Israel and said to them, so he's getting the whole crew together, "You have seen all that Adonai did before your very eyes in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and to all his courtiers, to the whole country. Everyone in his country witnessed this. You have seen it. You have seen this." And then he says, "The wondrous feats that you saw with your own eyes, those signs and portents and marvels, all those miracles, the 10 plagues," I'm editorializing, all those things you saw, you witnessed. And it is interesting that he says twice, "You saw with your own eyes." When the Torah does something like that, we get curious. And then he says, "Yet to this day, Adonai has not given you a mind to understand, or eyes to see, or ears to hear. And do you see why I am perplexed, and why we should be perplexed?" On the first hand, Moses says, "You saw with your own eyes," which, by the way, is problematic because the generation that he's speaking to didn't leave Egypt with him. This is the children and the grandchildren. So that's problematic to begin with. But what's really problematic is you saw all this stuff, but I, God, didn't give you eyes to see. Here are the exact words. I didn't give you eyes to see, a mind to understand, or ears to hear. You're stumped. Your silence is deafening. You're as confused as I am. Right? Just say yes, humor me. And so what do we do with this? How can you say to the Israelites, you saw all of the miracles, all of the marvels, all of the wonders, but you don't have a mind with which to understand, nor eyes to see it, nor ears to hear it? Does anyone want to take a stab as to what that means? Why Moses would say such a paradoxical statement? Is anyone gutsy enough to take a stab? Jeff, I can always count on you.
That you saw it, but you really didn't, you can't comprehend or understand the what happened.
So what Jeff said is that you saw it, but you didn't comprehend it. Right? We see things all the time that we don't comprehend. So that is a very good stab at this. Someone else want to take a shot?
Yeah.
Sir.
The generations before saw it, but the current generation didn't. So they're passing it on. He's saying they're passing it on from one to the next.
So since it was transmitted and not witnessed in the first person, they're actually getting it secondhand. There was an obligation to first, maybe if I can just add a little bit, to act as if they had seen it, and to transmit it, to transmit the story. Is that kind of where you're at? Very good. Yes, sir. Sam Baker.
They were so used to nothing when they left Egypt that maybe they couldn't comprehend what they were seeing because they had never seen something like that.
Right, they're starting at scratch. I mean, the bar was pretty low. With idol worship and slavery, there wasn't much there insofar as spiritual, cosmic connection. And so since the bar was so low, what God is saying is you didn't have that stuff to begin with, but now you do. A little bit? Sam? These are excellent. You guys are doing, we are definitely ready for High Holy Days, our congregation. Everyone is okay. So, one of the clues, and this goes very much actually to what you said, with a combination of what everyone else said. Let's look at the beginning of the Parsha. One of the clues to what Moses means, what God is saying, is in the beginning of the Parsha. Does anyone know why this Torah portion, Ki Tavo, is so famous? What is it in the beginning of this Parsha that is made famous, so famous that an entire dinner is structured around this? You, right, the statement in the beginning of, way to go, Steve, the statement in the beginning, and Rabbi Keller talked about this with our board of directors earlier this week, Aromi Oved Avi. My father, you're going to go into the land of Israel, and you guys are reading this tomorrow, right? Ellie? Second Aliyah tomorrow. Arami? Very good. You're going to go into the land of Israel, and you're going to kind of look around at each other, right? They're going to bring these sacrifices, and you should say to each other, Arami Oved Avi. The entire Haggadah is premised on this statement. My father was a wandering Aramean, and he went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there, but there he became a great and very populous nation. And you offer the first, what is the offering? The first fruits, which was a tax. It was sort of like, Rabbi David Wolpe says, it would sort of like be walking into the IRS or walking into the U.S. Treasury on April 15th, and as you're handing your check over saying, before I hand you this check, I want to remind you that my ancestors were revolutionary warriors who fought against Great Britain, and we were victorious. It's the same thing. You go into the land of Israel, you pay your tax, and you make this statement. But what was it, going back to that first passage about the eyes and the mind and the ears? What is the clue? What is the hint in the beginning of the Parsha? And it very much has to do with transmission. And it very much has to do with literally seeing something, right? Literally seeing it and having a mind with which to understand it, and figuratively seeing something or hearing something. And what do I mean by that? Every single day of our lives, the rabbis teach us, every single day, there are things that we miss, things that we don't see, miracles, moments of awe, moments of transcendence, moments that are, wow, and we miss them. We are those who don't have a mind with which to understand, or eyes to see, or ears to hear. Now, we don't miss them on purpose. In other words, we don't walk around saying, I am going to miss the opportunity to witness something marvelous, fantastic. We do it because we're busy. We do it because we have those little devices that we carry that are constantly buzzing and beeping and chirping. We do that because we're human. We miss things. What God is saying is, I could have given your ancestors 10 more plagues and 5 more epiphanies at Mount Sinai and 300 more miracles and marvels and wonders, and they still wouldn't have gotten it because they went out into the desert, after all, the wilderness, and built golden calves and rejected my laws and complained about the food. They were Jews. Don't serve a bad meal even to a former slave, because you'll hear about it. What Moses is teaching us and what Jewish theology is based on is God doesn't do it for you, because God can't do it for you, because God gave each one of us free will. That is, the will to choose, to observe, to see, understand, and to hear those miracles around us every day, or not to. What God is saying is that even I, God, cannot make you see me, cannot force you to believe in me. Whenever a kid asks about God, I explain to them, I know Rabbi Keller explains to them and Stacy explains to them, that we can't answer that for them, that the experience is theirs to have. And when a child or a confirmand, because they're a teenager, says, I don't believe in God, we tell them God exists whether you believe in God or not. That's what Moses is saying. You're about to enter the promised land. And we are not a people of history. We are a people of memory. Arami, Oved, Avi means that whether or not you choose to see yourself as an active participant in the ongoing story, narrative of the Jewish people is yours to decide. It's yours to do. It's yours to understand and then to impart and transmit to your children and your grandchildren. So as we bring this year, 5776, to a close, what I would hope for all of us and pray for all of us, and what I would challenge all of us to think about between now and the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, and one of the great ways to start that is to come to Slichot tomorrow night at 7:30, what I would encourage us to do is take a moment, doesn't have to be a long time, a moment every day to open your eyes and to turn the volume in your ears up and to open your mind to see something new, to understand a new lesson, and to experience the awe and the wonder around us that we miss because we're human. To take a moment and to think, have I, individually, fulfilled my obligation as part of this covenant? Have I instilled and transmitted to my kids and my grandkids, Arami, Oved, Avi, the spirit, that they are part of a great, long, beautiful story, a story that started with Abraham, with Avraham Avinu, and continues to this day? To take the time, to take the moment, and to reflect on the year that has passed, to ask ourselves truly whether we have been active participants in the ongoing narrative of our story and of our people. Those are our challenges. You do have the mind to hear, mind to understand, and the ears to hear, and the eyes to see. You have that. God's not going to do it for you, and God can't make you do it. It's yours to choose. So choose well. End this year on a wonderful note. Experience awe. Take it all in. Just one moment every day, so that together we can enter into the new year with fresh eyes and open hearts and open minds to experience the wonders around us. Shabbat Shalom.